Hi, y'all. Thanks for being here. So I don't like reading speeches. It feels disingenuous. But I also ramble when I talk from a list of bullet points, so I did have to write this out beforehand. So bear with me as I try to be genuine while also reading something that I've pre-written. Those of you who know me know that I do everything way before it's due. I love to plan ahead. I want to be prepared for anything, so I always do my assignments way ahead of time. So it may come as a surprise to some of you that I actually finished writing this last night. In fact, I practiced it in this space when it was empty and dark, and now it's daytime and all of you are here, and thank you so much for being here. So the theme, dreaming. When I think of dreaming, I think of the future, dreaming of what will happen. As a senior, this is daunting because I have a lot of dreams, and I have no idea what's going to come of any of them. I honestly don't know what I was expecting when I got to Elon. I was just so excited to be here. This was my first choice. I'd been thinking about it since my first year of high school. I'm sure I had hopes and dreams, but it's all a blur now. My friends and I have talked about how our first year, we've kind of blocked out a lot of memories because of stress. I knew I wanted to study abroad in Paris. I'd been planning and dreaming of that since high school French class. And I really wanted to do an internship in Washington, D.C. to see if I could make it there. In fall 2019, which was my sophomore year, I was accepted into a program in Paris for fall 2020, and I started planning immediately. I had never been to Europe, and I wanted to see how many places I could visit and see as much as I could see in one semester. When we got sent home in the spring because of the pandemic, I wasn't too worried at first. I figured it would be over soon, but as we realized that this thing was here to stay, I realized that my dream was going to be put on hold. Eventually, since I determined that I didn't want to go abroad during my senior year, I knew this dream had to die. That's inevitable and it's part of life. Not all of our dreams become reality. I don't think we recognize that enough, or when we do, we paint it as personal failure when most of the time it's due to factors out of our control. It didn't matter how badly I wanted this thing, how much I was looking forward to it, or that it left me empty-handed with no on-campus housing for the fall. By some miracle, I found a place to live for the beginning of my junior year and was here for what I think we can all agree was a hellish fall semester. Rather than relive all that, I'm going to talk about some of the things that happened to me that were surprisingly great, but happened because of the dream that didn't come true. I was able to deepen my connection with LEAF, Lutherans, Episcopalians, and Friends, an inclusive Christian community that I'm in, as we met outside for worship every week while traditionally meeting in here. LEAF was my only consistent in-person activity that fall. Instead of doing fellowship events like we normally would at the beginning of the year and big groups like movie night, bowling, we paired current students up with new students to welcome them to LEAF, and I was actually paired with someone my age, Maddie, and we became friends almost immediately. I didn't think it was possible to make such a good friend so late into my college experience, but now Maddie is one of my roommates, and I can't imagine Elon without her. I took my political science senior seminar early because of a schedule fluke. My goal was to be an undercover junior and not have anyone figure out that I wasn't a senior. I think it worked, and I wrote my first real research paper that I'm really proud of, and I'm working to publish in the spring. Dr. Kirk, who's here today, was my professor in that class. Thank you for your encouragement on what seemed like an impossible task. Since I couldn't do a summer internship in DC because of the pandemic, I decided to do a Study USA program for my junior spring semester. This decision was a hard one. I didn't want to be away from my friends, and I needed a change of scenery, and I had planned to go abroad anyway. Being away from campus and spending a lot of time on my own taught me a lot about myself, and it also made me miss my friends. It reminded me of my calling, though, that I want to pursue a career on the international stage, hopefully as a foreign service officer or maybe working for an NGO. Because of that experience, I decided to apply for a Fulbright grant, which was not on my Elon bucket list, believe it or not. So that was a dream that died, but other things came and filled the void. Then there are the parts of Elon that I didn't know I was dreaming for until I had them, the people. My social transition to college was definitely the hardest part. I couldn't remember how to make friends. I felt like I was texting people too much or not enough. Nothing seemed right. Everyone else around me looked like they were having fun and making friends, and I felt behind. Eventually, I realized that I was where I needed to be. So many of you are here today as a testament to this, and I wish I could thank you all personally, but I hope you'll embellish a few examples. The friends. Stephanie New, who I met on my first day at Elon and talked to because we were the only two people wearing chacos, who for some reason stuck around with me this whole time and still puts up with me as a roommate. Caroline Penfield, who is forever bonded with me as a fellow pastor's kid, who let me borrow her car an unnecessary amount and also drove me around to her hometown in Birmingham, even further to Texas and back, and to this day will voluntarily drive me around to sing Taylor Swift in the car. Maddie, as I mentioned earlier, got me hooked on my favorite podcast. We found out this week she's going to become a physical therapist. Thank God I have an excuse to visit New York for the next 3 years. Layla Jackson, who got breakfast with me every Monday, Wednesday, Friday before our classes. We lived on the same floor our first year and were terrified of going to the dining halls alone, who's one of the strongest people I've had the privilege of knowing. The faculty. Dr. Slimalar, who told me she'd be my advisor without knowing the first thing about me other than my majors. Dr. Marshall and Dr. Mijas, who led a course to the US-Mexico border and showed us around Tucson, who are some of the funniest, smartest, most caring people I've ever met. Dr. Roselle, who's leading my IGS senior seminar of badass women. Anyone who has been brave enough to teach me French, Madame Chopin and Madame Burns. The staff. Jan Register, my work mom, who I literally can't say enough good things about. She's been there when I've cried at the front desk, and she's been there when I got my first graduate school acceptance email. She's magical. Jan, because I knew you, I've been changed for good. Amanda, Melanie, and Jennifer, who make me laugh every time I come into work and who match my enthusiasm about putting labels on envelopes and also really care about how I'm doing as a person. Jodine, who brought me beaver nuggets all the way from Buc-ee's in Texas, and who always tells me that my leadership is enough even when I feel like it isn't. Julie Tonneson, I really think of you more than a friend than my chaplain, but you do serve both roles beautifully. And you've seen me at every high and low in my time at Elon. Thank you for holding me together. Leaf, which I've talked about a bit already, immediately welcomed me into a hodgepodge of soul searchers, the religious, the spiritual, neither of the two. People with questions, people with answers. The one thing we had in common was our love for community. I actually hid the fact that I could play guitar for my whole first semester because I'd been the worship girl in high school and it wasn't necessarily cool. Well, you can see that that didn't last long, and now here I am warbling away. This building, this department, the Truett Center is what gave me solace and a home at Elon when I didn't have anyone else. And that is thanks to so many people who have come and gone from Elon now, but who have left their mark on this place and on me. Okay, before I start really crying, looking to the future, I don't know what my dreams are. I have a lot of them. I think sometimes I'm worried to name them because I think it makes them less likely to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do post-grad. I'm applying to a lot of competitive things and waiting to hear back, and my backup plan is to live with my twin sister because she is going to be a nurse and has job security. I don't know where I'll be this time next year, and we'll see what happens when we get there. I'm going to close with a blessing from Kate Bowler. Kate is a professor at Duke University who wrote a book that really helped me deconstruct my faith. Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I've Loved. She posts occasional blessings on her Instagram page, and this one is called A Blessing When You Need Permission to Change. I hope it gives you the permission to dream big and accept yourself now as you are. We've been through a lot these past 2 years, and we have all changed in one way or another, whether we realize it or not. I used to be afraid of change, but I've learned to be thankful for it. I'll leave you with this blessing. Blessed are you, dear one, when the world around you has changed. Everything is different now. Your body, your age, your relationships, your job, your faith, the things that once brought you joy, the way you exist in the world, the people you love and rely and trust on. Things have changed, and it would be silly to imagine you haven't changed with them. You are not who you once were. Bless that old self. They did such a great job with what they knew. They made you who you were, all the mistakes and heartbreak and naivety and courage. And blessed are who you are now. You aren't pretending things are the same, who continue to grow and stretch and show up to your life as it really is, wholehearted, vulnerable, and maybe a little afraid. So blessed are we, the changed. Thank you.